Chapter 15. The second appearance of Quilleren's prandial musings, in the Tuesday edition of the Daily Fluxion, dealt with the culinary virtuosity of Robert Mouse, member of the important downtown law firm of T-Handle, Hansblow, Burris, Mouse, and Castle. The column was wittily written, and Quilleren accepted congratulations from copy boys and editors alike when he went to the office to open his mail. "How do you get these plum assignments?" he was asked at the press club that noon. "How much weight do you expect to gain on your new beat? Do you mean to say that the Flux is footing the bill? The controller must have flipped." He spent a day at the office, writing a column on the whimsical theories of Max Sorel. "If you want to test a guy's sincerity," Max had said, "serve him a bad cup of coffee. If he praises it, he's not to be trusted." In the middle of every paragraph, he was interrupted, however, by phone calls from the electric company, objecting to Mouse's hotly argued preference for gas cooking, from the aluminum industry, protesting the gourmet's antipathy to foil jackets on baked potatoes, from purveyors of ketchup, processed cheese, and frozen fish, all of which made Robert Mouse shudder. One interruption was a blustering phone call from old T-Handle, senior partner of the law firm. "Did Robert Mouse authorize that article in today's paper?" he demanded. "He didn't read the finished copy," said Quilleren, "but he allowed me to interview him." "Humph! Are you aware that one of our major clients is a manufacturer of electric ranges?" "Even so, Mouse is entitled to his opinion, don't you think?" "But you didn't have to print it!" the partner snapped. "I shall discuss this with Mr. Mouse when he returns to the city." Between answering complaints and accepting compliments, Quilleren made some phone calls of his own. Coco had left the letter Z in the typewriter that morning, and it inspired the newsman to call Zoe Lambreth, a painter he had known briefly but well when he first came to the city. He read Zoe a list of artists' names he had copied from an old newspaper account of the scandal at the pottery. "Are any of these people still around?" he asked. "Some of them have died," Zoe said in the melodic voice that always captivated him. "Herb Stock has retired to California. Inga Barry is head of the pottery department at Penniman School. Bill Bacon is president of the Turpin Chisel Club." "Inga Barry, you say? I'd like to interview her." "I hope you're not raking up that old scandal," the painter said. "Inga refuses to talk about it. All the slovenly bohemians mentioned in the newspapers eventually became important members of the art community, and yet they're still hounded by reporters. I don't understand newspapers." Next, Quilleren telephoned Inga Barry, plotting his course carefully. She answered in a hearty voice, but as soon as he identified himself as a feature writer for the Daily Fluxion, her manner stiffened. "What do you want?" He talked fast and summoned all his vocal and verbal charm. "Is it true, Miss Barry, that pottery is considered the most enduring of the crafts?" "Well, yes," she said, taken by surprise. "Wood crumbles and metal corrodes, but examples of pottery have survived for thousands of years." "I understand that pottery is due for a renaissance, that it might eclipse painting and sculpture as an art form within 10 years. "Well, I don't know." "Well, perhaps yes," the instructor said, as she considered the flattering prospect. "But don't quote me. You'll have all the painters and sculptors yelling for my blood." "I'd like to discuss the subject with you, Miss Barry. I have a young friend, one of your students, who paints a glowing picture of your contribution to the art of ceramics." "Oh, he does he? Or is it a she?" Miss Barry was warming up. "Do you know William Vitello?" "He's not in my classes, but I'm aware of him," she chuckled. "He's hard to overlook." "Have you seen him in the last couple of days?" "I don't believe so. We haven't had any major catastrophes at the studio, so he must be absent." "By the way, Miss Barry, Is it usual to use lead in the composition of glazes? Oh, yes, it's quite usual. Lead causes the pigment to adhere to the clay. Isn't it poisonous? We take precautions, of course. Would you like to visit our studio, Mr. Quillerin, spelled with a QW. That's very kind of you, Miss Barry. I have a great curiosity about potting. Is it true that clay begins to smell bad when it ripens? Yes, indeedy. The longer you keep it, the more it gains in elasticity. Actually, it's decomposing. During this conversation, the receptionist in the feature department was signaling to Quillerin. 2 incoming phone calls were waiting. He shook his head and waved them away. He told the potter, I've taken an apartment at the old pottery on River Road. It's a fascinating place. Are you familiar with it? There was a chilling pause on the other end of the line. You're not going to bring up the subject of Mortimer Mellon, are you? Who is he? Quillerin asked, with an outrageous display of naivete. Never mind. Forget I mentioned him. I was going to tell you, he said in his most engaging voice, that my apartment has a secret window overlooking the kiln room, and my curiosity is aroused. What might its purpose be? There was another pause. Which studio do you have? Number 6. That used to be Mr. Penniman's. I didn't know he was an artist, Quillerin said. I thought he was a newspaper publisher and financier. He was a patron of the arts, and his studio served as a pied-à-terre, the newsman supplied. You see, Miss Barry added cautiously, I used to work in the Penniman pottery in the early days. He expressed surprise, and then inquired if she planned to attend the opening of the Graham exhibition. I hadn't intended to, but why don't you come, Miss Barry? I'll personally keep your champagne glass filled. Maybe I shall. I never waste time on social openings, but you sound like an interesting young man. Your enthusiasm is refreshing. How will I recognize you, Miss Barry? Oh, you'll know me. I have gray hair and bangs and a bit of a limp. Arthritis, you know. And of course I have clay under my fingernails. Pleased with his own persuasiveness, Quillerin hung up and finished the Max Sorel column in high spirit. He handed in his copy to Riker and was leaving the office with spring in his step when his phone rang again. A man's voice said, You write that column on restaurants, yeah? Yes, I write the gourmet column. Just want to give you some advice, yeah? Lay off the golden lamb chop, yeah? For what reason? We don't want nothing in the paper about the golden lamb chop, you understand? Are you connected with the restaurant, sir? I'm just telling you, lay off, or you're liable to lose a lot of advertising in the paper. Yeah? There was a click on the line. Quillerin reported the call to Riker. He sounded like one of the bad guys in an old gangster movie. But now they don't threaten to bump you off. They threaten to withdraw their advertising. Did you know there's an underground movement afoot to ruin Sorel's restaurant? Oh, I'll check it out with the boss, Riker said with a bored sigh. We have your cheese column for tomorrow, and then the farmer's market piece. But we can't run what you wrote about the petrified bagel, embalmed shrimp, delicious toothpicks. Are you out of your mind? What else have you lined up? The Friendly Fatties. I'm going there tonight. Any word from Joy? No word. But I'm building up a case. If I can just get one break. Quillerin met Hixie Rice at the Duxbury Memorial Center. She was looking oddly unglamorous, despite a frizzy wig and a snugly fitted orange and white polka dot ensemble. Do I look dumb? She asked. I just lost my eyelashes. I'm a loser, that's all. Everywhere except on the bathroom scales. C'est la vie! The dinner meeting of the Friendly Fatties, all 16 tons of them, was held in a public meeting room at the center, which was noted for the mediocrity of its cuisine. There was a brief sermon on thinking thin. The week's champion losers were announced, and a few backsliders, Hixie among them, confessed their sins. Then cabbage juice cocktails were served, followed by a light repast. "Ah, another thin soup," Hixie exclaimed in feigned rapture. "This week they actually dragged a bouillon cube through the hot water, and the Melba toast, best I've tasted since I was a girl in Pigeon, Michigan, and ate the shingles off the barn roof. Do you think this is really hamburger?" she asked Quillerin when the main course arrived. "I think it's grape seeds stuck together with epoxy glue. Don't you love the Brussels sprouts? They taste like, wet paper mache. But wait till you try the dessert. They make it out of air, water, coal tar, disodium phosphate, vegetable gum, and artificial flavoring. And voila! Prune whip." On the way home, Hixie said, "Honestly, life is unfair. Why wasn't I born with a divine figure instead of a brilliant intellect and a ravishingly beautiful face? I can't get a man because I'm fat, and I stay fat because I can't get a man." "What you need is a hobby," Quillerin advised. "Some new consuming interest." "I've got a hobby, consuming food," she said in her usual glib way. But as they walked up the stairs at Mouse House, the happy-go-lucky fat girl burst into tears, covering her face with her hands. "Hixie, what's the matter?" Quillerin asked. She shook her head and gave vent to a torrent of sobs. He grasped her arm firmly and steered her up the stairs. "Come up to number 6, and I'll fix you a drink." His kind voice only made the tears gush more freely, and blindly she went along with him. Coco was alarmed at her entrance. He had never seen or heard anyone cry. Quillerin situated her in the big armchair, gave her a box of tissues, lit a cigarette for her, and poured 2 ounces of scotch over ice. "Now what's the reason for the sudden cloudburst?" "Oh, Quill," she said, "I'm so miserable." He waited patiently. "I'm not looking for a millionaire or a movie star. All I want is an ordinary, run-of-the-mill type of husband, with a few brains or a little talent, not necessarily both. But do you think I ever meet that kind?" She enumerated a discouraging tally of her near hits and total misses. He had heard this tale of woe before. Young women often confided in him. "How old are you, Hixie?" 24. "You've got lots of time." She shook her head. "I don't think I'll ever appeal to the right kind of man. I don't want to be a swinger, but I attract men who want a swinger and nothing else. Me, I want a wedding ring, a new name, babies, all that corny stuff." Quillerin looked at her dress, too short, too tight, too bright, and wondered how to phrase some advice. Perhaps Rosemary could take her in hand. "May I have another drink?" she asked. "Why is your cat staring at me?" He's concerned. He knows when someone's unhappy. "I don't usually come apart like this, but I've just lived through a traumatic experience. I haven't slept for 5 nights. Do you mind if I tell you all the nasty details? You're so understanding." Quillerin nodded. "I've just ended an affair with a married man." She paused to observe Quillerin's reaction, but he was lighting his pipe. She went on. "We couldn't come to terms. He wanted me to go away with him, but I refused to go without making it legal. I want a marriage license. Am I a nut?" "You're surprisingly conventional." "But it's the same old story. He's reluctant to get a divorce. He keeps putting it off. This is good scotch. Why don't you drink, Quill?" "Too young." Hixie wasn't really listening. She was intent on her own problem. "Our plans were all made. We were going to live in Paris. I was even studying French, and Dan announced—" She caught her tongue, threw Quillerin a panicky glance. He kept an expressionless face. "Well, now you know," she said, throwing up her hands. "I didn't mean to let it slip. For God's sake, Don't worry, I'd hate for Robert to find out. He'd have a fit. You know how he is. So proper. She stopped and groaned with chagrin. And Joy is a friend of yours. Ooh, I really put my foot in it this time. Promise me. Your drinks are so... Haven't slept for 5. I'm so tired. The scotch will make you sleep well, Quillerin said. Shall I walk you home? She was a little unsteady on her feet, and he escorted her around the balcony to her own apartment, just in time to say good evening to a tight-lipped Charlotte Roop who was coming home from work. When he returned to his own place, he found Coco busy tilting pictures. Stop that, Quillerin barked. He walked to the Art Nouveau print and took it off the hook, slid the metal plate aside, and peered through the aperture. He saw Dan toss a bundle of rags into one of the small kilns. He saw Dan look through the spy hole of a larger kiln and make a notation in a ledger. He saw Dan set an alarm clock and lie down on a cot. Quillerin slowly turned away from the peephole. He had recognized the rags.